Now, two of the main banks are to pay staff an additional financial support to help them with deal with the rising cost of living. Bank of Ireland staff, well, they're to get €1,000 tax-free, a voucher worth €1,000, while at AIB, most employees will also get a tax-free voucher worth up to €1,000. For more on this, I'm joined by Gareth Murphy, Head of Industrial Relations and Campaigns at the Financial Services Union. Gareth, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thanks, Mel, for having me.
Well, what's your reaction to this?
Well, we welcome this, first of all. It's a good move by two large employers in the state to make these financial supports available to workers in what is a frightening cost of living crisis impacting on families and communities.
And do you know how it is frightening indeed? Do you know how much or how they'll be paid and when they'll be paid?
So they'll be paid in the form of the tax-free vouchers that the government increased from 500 to 1,000. We, in our pre-budget submission, asked the government to increase that from 500 to 1,000, and they did, which again was a good move, and that really gave the green light to employers to make these additional payments. So they'll be in the form of tax-free vouchers. They've got different mechanisms internally for doing that in AIB and Bank of Ireland, but in effect, people will have €1,000 to spend in a number of stores and retail outlets around the country, which I think most people will probably spend on basic groceries and fuel for car, etc. over the coming weeks, and they're due to be paid in November to these workers.
And I'd say most workers, the recipients of these vouchers, will say, thank God, this is fantastic. But I'm sure some will say, why not a pay increase of this nature?
Yeah, well, you're right. One-off payments alone are not enough to solve the cost of living crisis, and we've also negotiated pay increases with these employers, and we will continue to work for inflation-proof pay increases and better pay increases, because in essence, it's long-term pay increases that will really help workers deal with the cost of living crisis.
But is the banks putting this kind of resource into the voucher? I mean, does it not signify that they could have paid more in pay increases?
No, I don't think so. I think the pay increases that we negotiated and pay increases generally were negotiated at a time when inflation wasn't quite as high as it has grown to over the last 3 or 4 months. It's now at a 38-year high. And so these are kind of urgent solutions needed, I suppose, to particularly get through the coming months. But we won't be resting on that, and we'll be asking employers for decent pay awards for 2023 as well. And I think unions and workers across the economy generally will be campaigning to win decent pay increases as well. So I think there has to be a range of factors. The government's own budgetary mechanisms as well, and will provide some relief. So I think it's through both government action but also employers doing both decent pay increases and making one-off payments that will really support families getting through the crisis. And
it's €1,000 worth of a voucher, isn't that right? They're getting employees of these banks in the UK are getting a little bit more, is that right?
Well, the payment in Bank of Ireland for the UK will be £1,250.
Isn't that right?
Pound, that's right. In AIB, it will be £1,000. So it's slightly different in both banks, because obviously we negotiate with different employers. They're not identical, they're not the same. So we have to negotiate.
Does that mean they're tougher employers in the UK, or tougher negotiators? I mean, in the UK.
No, I just think there's different circumstances and different numbers of staff in those jurisdictions, which means different funds can be made available in different ways. So just different circumstances. Yeah.
All right, look at. I'm sure you'll be back to them again, knocking on the door, looking for more in terms of a pay increase, or maybe more vouchers, and maybe sooner than either of you think. We'll see. But Gareth Murphy, Head of Industrial Relations and Campaigns at the Financial Services Union, thank you very much indeed. And if you're lucky enough to be a recipient of one of these vouchers worth €1,000, so let us know to 51551 how you react to it.